We should be on and going.
Okay.
Yep, they just popped up.
Let me refresh my screen.
And then we can start inviting peoples.
Got the peoples coming. So. The People's Choice Award.
Hey, everybody, we're getting set up real quick, as we do. And
hey, there's Meat Bob. Hey, there we are.
There we are.
All right, let me turn my volume down before I turn it on because, I was this out.
I caught it. At just the right time.
Hello, everybody. Hello. We have new lighting set up in here today. Who all we got watching? Hey, look, there's our logo in the corner, man.
Yeah.
We are getting high. We're getting highfalutin up in here.
We're definitely trying. Let's invite some people. Let me swap over to my profile. What's up, Norm?
Is Norm in?
It looks that way.
See who all's. I can't see who all's in here yet. So,
okay,
so everybody that's
there.
So
where do you find that?
Okay, right here. If you go over here to the corner, there's that
little plus arrow. Okay, yep. All right. I got you. I'm gonna do that too.
Learn. Did I just teach the master something?
Maybe.
The rock god of podcasting. I taught him something.
See, normally I'm having to do everything myself, so I don't bother inviting people because I'm like, no, I just want to talk. That's what I do.
You just talk to the airwaves, huh?
Yeah.
Then if you go up at the top and search, if you do, I go through the alphabet because not everybody comes up on the first thing there. And then I just go say, hey, everybody, we're online. Come talk to us, please. Because we got some good things to talk about today, don't we?
Yeah, we do. We're going to break down the Ad Hoc meeting for Region 3 EMS, where they're updating the request for proposal from Dekalb County and Dunwoody, man. City of Dunwoody's at it again.
No, not
They're
Dunwoody.
Fired up.
Hey, where do they come up with the term ad hoc? Because whenever I hear hawk, I think of hawking up a woogie or something, you know? Like ad hoc, I mean.
I don't know. When I hear ad hoc, I just think like selling, like you're hawking your wares.
Yeah, hawking.
I
gotta go hawk. I gotta go hawk my jewelry up at the pawn shop or something.
Yeah. Okay, so I just totally made a post when I meant to share this on my page. So let's do that instead. No, not breaking the panel. I'm not just as myself. I just want to do it as myself.
I just saw Matt Cooper's name pop. I just invited him. Just wanted to shout out, Ben. He is doing great.
Awesome. It's always good to hear. That is always good.
Love seeing his progress.
Yeah. I heard that you might be interested in EMS, Matt. Hope to see you around soon sometime.
Yeah. That'd be great.
I just invited Thomas Campbell.
Did you? I just got the buzz. I think I might come. I might log in and take a look and see what's going on.
You might should.
Two crazy folks there.
You might should.
So Dunwoody's at it again.
Yeah, Dunwoody is at it again. Let me get our camera set up like we like them. Well, we say again, but the reality is,
have they ever?
They never stopped. Take you off. There you go. So if I look that way, yep, perfect. All right, so I'm gonna flip over to the show view here, and that's how we do right there. It's gonna look nice and pretty. So yeah, I went to the ad hoc. So again, and literally, because you know lots of stuff, what does ad hoc mean in this situation? So I know from a layperson standpoint, there's the EMS Region 3 Council, and that's who determines who can run EMS in the zones and inside of that region, right? And there's 10 regions in the state of Georgia, and the one we're in is Region 3. And they say, yes, you can put this up for bid. Yes, this is a new zone. No, it's not. They do a lot more than that. Yeah, Matt was, Brent. I don't know what his numbers are now. Sorry. So I don't know. But I heard Matt might be coming around. Anyway, so in this sense, the city of Dunwoody, we covered this when it first really splashed almost a year ago now. I was looking up because Action 2 News was out there yesterday. At least their camera guy was out there and recording different things. So I was looking to see if they did another hit piece on AMR. Nothing popped up. I was noticing that the city of Dunwoody first started hitting the news in May of 2018.
Yeah.
So And we started covering all this then because this is local to us. It's important to EMS as a whole because even if you're not in Georgia, you need to watch what municipalities and governments are trying to do with our profession. And, they were really doing hit pieces on AMR, trying to get their own, Dunwoody's trying to get their own EMS zone and their own service that they can control. They got the police. I think they got their own fire, and now they're working on EMS as well. And I called it. I called it from the first shot of this feels like a power move, 100%. There's nothing real here that's a problem. Everything's drama. Councilman Null is always talking in generalities and drama. And sure enough, as this has progressed, every step of the way, they just like, we want our own EMS. We want our, to the meeting yesterday, he said that. We'll get into that. But catching everybody up, I know the regional council said, okay, we're going to make an ad hoc committee to look at if there's really issues and to see what it would look like if you were to propose, like what the zone would be, how it would lay out. First, yes, you have to find out the legit issues, yes or no. Then if there are, and DeKalb County is not able to fix those, and we have to make a new zone, what would that, how, they have to have numbers, right? How many people is it covering? How many trucks is it going to be? So when I say what would it look like, they were looking for proposals and actual numbers and reality. And I went to the meeting, I think it was in November when the last major meeting was. Well, actually, I think there was one in February that I missed, but basically the big meeting. So there was a meeting that happened and the news went there and showed, AMR basically saying it doesn't matter and showing the police chief saying, oh, we're dying, and showing Councilman Nall going, oh, we're dying. And the news is drama, right? So that's all they're wanting
Drama
back.
and votes.
So I went to the meeting in November, follow up. Of course, this is where the solution was going to be. This is where the ad hoc council made their first recommendations on DeKalb County and how that's working. And of course, the news wasn't there because the recommendations were, you know what? The county actually got to it before we did and addressed a bunch of these issues. There's a memorandum of understanding, which is apparently a legal document. And they reference that a lot in what we're going to talk about today. And the thing was, no, there really wasn't a whole lot of major issues. And the county has agreed before we even talked to them to here's what they're going to do to solve the other issues that are there, and done. And I know that the councilman himself wasn't all that thrilled with it because they don't get the results, which is they want Dunwoody's being the city council of Dunwoody wants their own ambulance service. So I didn't get to make it to the last meeting. So I did see the ad hoc reminder come up for yesterday morning, and I drove all the way up to the city of Dunwoody, which is kind of like, not on my part, but when it's non-neutral ground. I was about to say it's like enemy territory, but really it's non-neutral ground. When you're pushing hard to get your own service, and basically they're supposed to be independently looking at, now I believe the council's independent. I mean, they were nonplussed by anything City of Dunwoody said yesterday. But City of Dunwoody's hosting it. Like you literally go to their city hall and it's their big address room with microphones and cameras and very expensive desks and that kind of thing.
Not partisan.
So and I get for a council you need a place to stay or to meet. I guess, but in reality too, wouldn't it be just as nonpartisan if the county of DeKalb offered a place for them to stay? So you're kind of stuck because why would you go outside of this county when that's where the issues are? And actually, that's where the council is. The Region 3 is in DeKalb County, I think, or are they in North Fulton now? They're up in Sandy Springs. Sandy Springs is south. I forget where the state office is, but I know all the regions.
I've never moved. They moved to where
I went there,
each region has their own individual office per se, but Region 3 is where the state office is, and they moved.
It's somewhere north. I went there. It's up in Roswell or something. I forget. It's not too bad, but anyway. That's the thing is you really can't have because nobody's getting paid for this council,
right?
Or they're minimally getting paid. It's not like we've got a budget and we can go rent a place. No, they can't do that. Yeah. So,
and they've been here at Newton Hospital before, and they've been here in the town. Yeah.
we could have the meeting here. It's not a ton of people. We could set up this place in front of the ambulance center.
Yeah.
We could offer it to them. I was just saying, we could hold 50, 60 people in there, and only 30 show up or so for these things. So, anyway.
BR, look, that'd be the day like everybody shows.
That's true. It'd be standing room only.
Yeah.
But then we'd show off our video skills and have them on the TV out here, and they could be in the lobby.
Sure could, yeah.
Yep. All right, so I ended up going.
Okay, Norm says it's in College Park there. He drove there to do his EMT stuff.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I thought it was up north. Yeah, north. It's in North DeKalb. Yeah, okay. All right. I'm getting my cities mixed up, but that's neither here nor there. So, I have some audio. Now, last time I went to a meeting, I sat in the back because I didn't know the protocols. I was just kind of hiding to not be intrusive, and I'm a huge guy, so I'm fairly noticeable.
Charles.
And the recording I made then was quite crap because it's too far. They didn't have microphones, so it was all just open air, and it was way too far away to record anything. This time, oh, cool, they have microphones. I can hear them clearly. And I still sat up front. Apparently, I need to sit up front and right next to where the podium is going to be, where they're going to be speaking. Because I don't know if the microphone wasn't on when the fire chief first stood up, but you really can't hear what he's saying. I mean, I made notes because I was there. I recorded what he said. But some of the audio I'm going to play is definitely been treated. I took it and I crunched it down to try to get rid of a lot of the air conditioning noise and whatnot. But I wanted some of these people to speak for themselves as much as possible, to be honest. And I really wanted the raw audio just to go up on our website so people could listen to it. I'm getting there. We're working on it. But here's kind of where it started. The DeKalb County turned in their reports for up through March. And they have them broken down in fractals, which I imagine meant that instead of one big overarching, here's the numbers, and it just keeps breaking down to, they ended up breaking it down by cities, and then even under the cities, by ALS calls and BLS calls. So they've been turning in those numbers to this council on a consistent basis. To the council, I'm being very specific because you're going to hear possibly Councilman Nall go, we haven't seen the numbers for March. He's like, it's a thing. It's a thing. So the report from the DeKalb is they're within the 90% is what they're saying. So and the audio kind of drops out, and he didn't elaborate because obviously he's reporting not to us who doesn't know what he's talking about. He's reporting to the council who does know what he's talking about because they're getting the reports constantly. So I'm inferring that means that their current run times are within 90% of what they want them to be for the entirety of DeKalb County.
Well,
so that's what that sounded like. They made a point to say they cover 13 cities of varying sizes and populations inside the county. That is a huge territory to cover
and
by
a huge
one service.
Population.
Yeah. I think they were making the point that we're going to be bringing up later of we really are spending a whole lot of time on one city when we have to take care of 13 cities.
Right.
So the request for proposal, people have been asking us, do we know, us being Tom and I, do we know when the bid closes? Because there's just lots of rumors. Technically, there's no close date official. The bids were supposed to be in last Tuesday. I mean, a week ago Tuesday, rather. But I don't know the date, but somewhere in March, they had a pre-bid meeting that was open to whoever wanted to come and whatever companies might want to bid. I think there were about 12 to 13 companies there from the reports. And as a Q&A, you could ask specific official questions of how, I'm assuming it's specific to how we put our bid together. What are you looking for? Okay, what about this thing? What about that thing? And DeKalb County reported that over 150 questions have been officially submitted. That's after they vetted and said, no, these are duplicates or these are crap. There's still over 150 questions that they have to officially write answers to. And so the first bid date has gotten kicked down the road to this coming Tuesday. And as of yesterday, the answers to this have not been posted on DeKalb County's website. And it's supposed to be on DeKalb County's website under the Purchasing and Contracts Division. And they said the general public will be able to see it. Anybody will be able to see it. And it's up there. But it has not been posted yet. So until the answers to these questions have been posted, you can't turn in a bid. right? There's no way to turn in bids. So it looks like that date's probably going to get punted again down the road. This is just, I mean, Tom, you've been through some similar things, right? This is just business,
Yep.
government business, right?
Yep.
And
they want to make sure they have the right fit.
Yeah, which is why they allow you to ask questions.
Right.
Well,
But 100 and something, that's just
it's a lot.
That's a lot.
And when I say official, I mean they have to. I'm sure they have to sit with their council, the DeKalb County, hiring council, whatever they're going to call it, that reviews the bids. They have to come up with the answer, write it, review it, send it past legal to make sure that everything's good before it's an official answer, right? Or chiefs, or all this approval. So there's a process there. And I do not know, Preston, what 11 agencies, other than obviously AMR was there and Grady. We know those two they're always at these meetings. So other than that, I don't know who all was at that meeting. And they didn't say. They just said 12 or 13 companies were there. The Ad Hoc Council asked the chief, when do you project to have all these bids in front of your committee? Meaning the process is closed, you've narrowed it down, now the committee's picking a provider. They said June. That's it, just June. So,
well, that's around the corner.
Yeah.
And that's a lot to go through.
Yeah. So theoretically, if they have somebody on the ball, I mean, because the question's been presumably they've worked on the questions since March when they got them. And theoretically, those questions could be up right now. The answers could be up right now, and you can still, these companies could still be turning in these bids because nobody just waits and turns in a bid last minute. In general, we can estimate AMR's got 50 trucks, so we can estimate 50 trucks.
We can throw something together.
You want to bid for the ambulance provider for DeKalb County.
No.
I quit. I'm out. That is crazy talk, man. What are you talking about?
What'd you put in my tea, man?
No, that is crazy. No. We'll talk after. So that was the audio that's missing from what I'm going to play. And I did cut out some of the other stuff, the non-relevant stuff of rescheduling the next meeting, those kind of things. It really is just was poignant to the discussion today, and I made some notes to clarify here. And as I pull this up, I want to make a quick shout out to everybody who supports us. Because we just actually, before we went on live, we got off the phone with a potential student. And I don't know if you caught this part. I think you were walking out when he said this. But he actually had called a number of hiring managers and companies in Georgia to see what kind of school do you recommend. And we came highly recommended from these companies, saying that we do a good job of preparing students. And if a company had happened to work with us, they said they were easy to work with. And so thank you for the recommendations.
Thank you. We tried. That's our goal, to help people. And along this end, get the word out there. No, I'm not going to start anything.
Brian Johnson said he'll work for you.
Hey, let's do it. I mean,
your first company, Amos, gonna be out of the gate, takes on DeKalb.
DeKalb. Go big or go home, right?
No kidding.
Tell them, Brian, go big or go home.
And our friend Terrence would be like, "You are a fool, man." He's like, "Wow, it's all yours, buddy. Have at it."
Yeah.
All right.
Like a house of cards come tumbling down.
So again, this audio is a little wobbly, and as Tom asked for clarification, or you in the chat room asked for clarification, we're going to stop it at certain points because I did not edit Councilman Nall at all. He was very nice to me. I called him out the last time I saw him. I had my recorder not literally like in his face, but hey, I walked up. Hi, I'm with EMS Underground. You kicked this off. Why do you think it's that? I mean, I just kind of a little aggressive. He gave me good answers. So this time I kind of thought he'd give me the dirty look, and nope. He's like, "Hey, how you doing?" He shook my hand, but I was like,
"Hey,
all
man.
right, that's business is business."
He knows how to do it. He knows.
He does.
Hey, look, we're not out to get anybody. We're out there just saying what's going on. Hey, what's happening, so that we are all informed.
And I will say, I am biased against politicians. I'll just go ahead and let you know that right now. So sometimes they're like,
I don't know about bias. You just can't trust them.
Yeah, no, and he is absolutely a politician. All right, here we go with some
Let's
audio.
do it.
I did 12 companies that were there, and I asked a specific question of, given that the county service requirements in the Dunwoody agreement are vastly different from the RFP provisions. By the way, if you've looked at the RFP, the response times in the RFP are substantially slower than what's in the Dunwoody MOU. And in fact, a non-emergency call has a standard in the RFP of a 30-minute response time and up to 15 minutes for emergency response times. But there are other provisions of the RFP that are vastly different. For instance, we have a different required response time. We have tiered categories of responses that are totally different than the RFP. The posting plan, the very posting plan that you and the EMS Council ordered Dekalb to make, that is to EMS Council.
Okay, I got to pause it there. So what he's talking about is the MOU is the Memorandum of Understanding that the county came up with that I referred to of that they like, we will post, the county volunteered it. They came up with it and said, we will post 2 full-time trucks at 2 of your fire stations in Dunwoody. They will be static there. That is their station. That is their post. They, we're breaking up where their area to respond, but they'll do shift changes at these fire stations, everything. And then a third one, I think, is outside the city, or it can be posted. Like it can come up from Stone Mountain and be posted. But 2 live there 24 hours a day. And that's in the memorandum. In the memorandum, Dunwoody has demanded 9-minute response times for emergency. Maybe that's possible. I don't know. It took me freaking forever to get from the interstate to the city hall by Perimeter Mall because of all the construction and traffic. And this is at 9 o'clock in the morning, actually almost 10 o'clock in the morning. And it was just crazy busy.
How big is this? I mean, do we know how many square miles this town is?
We can probably look it up. I will do that. But what he's talking about there is the trucks there, and they haven't met. So Dunwoody wants a 9-minute response time, and they haven't got that yet. But right now he's bringing up, and he started with the part I did cut off a little bit because it was bad audio. What he started with was our MOU is not in the request. The RFP is request for proposal.
Right.
Right. So he goes, our memorandum is not in there. Our standards are not in there. So the request for proposal says across the county, 15-minute response time for non-emergency and 30-minute for 15 for emergency and 30 for non-emergency. I said it backwards. So that's reasonable, I think, with the area they're covering. And that's what he's jumping on immediately. He's like, wow, that's way different. That's way different from what we have.
My question is, okay, that's fine. Look, Dunwoody, you want 9-minute response times, well, then you need to pay for 3 or 4 trucks in your territory. Because that's the only way I think you're going to get 9-minute response time is if you pay for 3 or 4 trucks. And you need to pay for it. The problem is these counties and these municipalities and stuff, 13.2 square miles, 2 trucks should be plenty enough for that. 2, maybe 3, so that if 2 trucks are out, you still got 1 covering. But it is a very densely populated area too, right?
Yeah.
And the roads are very congested at any given time. So maybe you need 3 or 4 trucks in that area if you want that. And I don't know what the call volume is in that town. And then there's the thing is about transporting to the hospital because I don't think there's a hospital in Dunwoody, right? So they're going to have to be transported to what, North Fulton or North Side or
Kennesaw maybe.
or
Kenesstone,
yeah.
I don't know.
Or whatever. So you got to pay for it. You've got these things, cities and counties who want EMS service for free. And people, I'm telling you people, the reason why you're not making any freaking money in this business is because of the politicians and the people out there. They want you doing it for free. They want to put response times. They want 9-minute response times. Well, guess what? If they want 9-minute response times, they need to pay for it because what they want is they want 3 or 4 trucks in a territory, but they only want to pay for 2. Well, guess what? Nothing is free.
And I don't know if that question's even come up. Like, well, ultimately they want their own, which means they would pay for their own service, right? If they get their own zone as a city of Dunwoody, then the city has to find their own provider, right? So that means the city has to pay for it. So ultimately, they might use your argument as, no, we'll pay for it. They might, because
Yeah,
ultimately,
but-
you'll
but
hear
I would
all
like
he
to see
wants
it.
is that.
I'd like to see it. How many? Can we look at anybody out there know how many fire stations are out there that they
In
have?
the
How
city
many
of
fire?
Dunwoody?
How many fire stations they have in the city of Dunwoody? And I wonder what their response time is to the scene.
Well, that I don't know.
Yeah, I think that needs to be pulled up.
And
And
so-
Brent, thank you for bringing up 49,000 people for population, and that's a good start. But then, how many commuters do they have going into the city that are working there? I bet you that.
A lot.
I bet you
I
that.
bet
I
it's
bet
a
you that
lot.
bubbles up during working hours. There's probably a lot more than 49,000 people in there.
yeah.
Yeah, Brent, I'd like the politicians to work for free too. I would. I think they expect us to do it for free. They expect us to do it for peanuts and hardly any money. They want 4 trucks out there, but they only want to pay for 2. And that's what the problem is that there's just not enough money out there to do what it is that they want. Well, then you know what? Quit funding these other things that don't matter, that shouldn't matter, that people should be paying for themselves, and pay people to do the job if that's what you want.
So it says, according to the Wikipedia page, Dunwoody operates its own police force of 54 officers, as well as departments over zoning and land use. The city receives services from Dekalb County, including schools, Dekalb County Fire and Rescue, sanitation, water, and sewage. I thought from the Google thing it said it was going to talk about the station. Something about a station was inside of the city. So it's possible they might not have their own fire. I thought they did. I knew they were pushing for it.
Marie Crosby, I don't have my glasses. I had to take my
DeKalb
glasses
still
off
handles-
because the light just reflects in them. So Marie says DeKalb still handles the fire response.
Yeah.
So
And here's the thing: what are the DeKalb response
18
times?
in Sandy Springs. So
So I think the audio I don't have is something that was said later because so the chief has already spoken. This is the council, then the chief gets to rebut. The council was offered to rebut, and they didn't come up again. And something was stated about appropriate response times. I think when the chief did his rebuttal, which I'm not sure if I have that audio for this specific statement, but it was essentially he was very professionally saying, stop counting when the ambulance gets there. Count when the trained firefighters who are EMTs get there. And that's when the clock is supposed to stop. You got definitive care at that moment.
well, we don't know about defendant. You got
you
starting
got
care,
You got medical
got medical
professional care.
which is probably the same level as was coming on the ambulance. Because I know DeKalb has a lot of paramedics, and I think they run paramedics. Hey, out there, the group, correct me if I'm wrong, is DeKalb Fire runs paramedics on the engines, right?
I know they have
I know how they did
2
in the
rapid
past.
response vehicles now. Oh yeah, they owned the whole thing before, back in my day. But he did say, the chief said yesterday that yesterday at the meeting he said the day before, which would be this yesterday. Yesterday we finally got 2 rapid response vehicles staffed and in service.
Right.
So that sounds like, and they're for the Dunwoody area. So that sounds like they are putting paramedics into play in that area. But something specifically, this is why I stopped it right where I stopped it in the audio, because Councilman Nall literally intentionally chooses his words to be antagonistic. And this is what bothers me about him. It's one thing if it's just me against you and we're arguing different sides and we're arguing facts. And I appreciate that the chief is there to represent the county and everything and everybody in it.
Yeah.
And I definitely appreciate that Councilman Nall doesn't care about that because his job literally is to represent the city. That's cool. But the phrase he used, and I put my finger up so you can see on the video, and I hit stop, was he's talking to the Ad Hoc committee, which has 0 power. It is an information gathering committee.
All right.
And they make reports back to the EMS council. Now, the EMS council has some authority and has some power, but at no point, I don't believe anybody in the state of Georgia has the ability to order a company to spend money to do something. It depends on the contract, right?
Depends on the contract.
It does. But this Ad Hoc council never does. So he literally sit there and he's like, and you, speaking to the Ad Hoc council, you ordered them to put people in this station. I mean, immediately like, what? I don't think that word means what you think it means. They didn't order anybody to. You're mixing up your meetings, and 2, the county came to you, and that was what the freaking report was at the meeting was the county's already taking care of this. Everybody's getting along. Everything's fine. Nobody ordered anybody to do anything. That bugged me, as if you can't tell.
Marie said that there are paramedic responses, and Norm says not every fire truck is an ALS truck. So I guess, you know, they're out there. They've got them, and it depends on the shift. And Preston
Was at the meeting. Yes.
Was he?
Yeah, Preston. I met him.
So they're putting
yeah.
10 quick response trucks up by the end of the year.
Yeah.
They used to have those a long time ago, back in the day. And they used to be almost in like little ice cream trucks. That's what they look like. They were the little quick response trucks that go all around and help with the call volume. But the problem that I have with all this, and it all started too whenever people were like attacking National, and I'm not here, and please don't take this, y'all out there, is like, oh, Tom's defending the services. No, if a service is doing a crappy job, they need to do their job. People need to hold them accountable, right?
Yes.
That's the whole thing. But
yes.
also, too, somebody needs to hold the counties and these cities accountable because they sit around and they have no problem paying lawyers millions of dollars a year. You know, some of these counties are paying their legal staff enough money to fund the entire EMS system and have a truck a lot more trucks. Because I guarantee you, the one lawyer, just one of the lawyers in DeKalb County is making $1 million+. How many trucks would $1 million staff?
2, give or take.
Yeah, 2.
And that's purchasing and everything,
That's
right?
Pretty much. That's the 3 shifts, the truck, and everything, for one salary of one person. But yet they want us to work for like $20,000 a year, and that's what gets me.
Yeah. All right. So back to the audio. So they ordered them, which was not true.
Different than the RFP, the posting plan, the very posting plan that you and the EMS Council ordered DeKalb to make. That is to post units directly at the fire stations, to make them static units, to do shift changes at the fire stations. That's not in the RFP. There's not a posting plan in that RFP. So the question is, how does a bidder know to serve Dunwoody? How does a bidder know what provisions to do this? And in fact, the original due date for the proposals.
All right, we're going to get that. He's just going to talk about how it's been kicked down the line. We'll get back to it. So how would somebody coming in to bid for an entire county know how to serve a city? Is literally his question there. Because their memorandum is not in the RFP about stations and whatnot.
I mean,
when you put in, I don't know if you've ever put in a bid. I've never put in a bid. I've never actually gotten to see a bid. I'd love to see one, even if it's an old one, just to kind of understand how bids look and what counties consider. When you put in a bid, you don't get told where to post at that point. This is just bidding. Once you get the bid and your bid is accepted, because in general, I imagine it's going to be 50 trucks. We're going to cover some. Our response times are going to be da-da-da-da. You're going to pay us so much. Then it comes down to negotiating the contract. And the contract will have posting and all that, right?
Depends on their process.
Okay.
You know, I'm sure that will be in there. But the thing is that you got to think about this, is this going out for bid. This is a reverse auction. You know, whenever you go to bid, usually you go to the auction. It's like, okay, I got it over here for 100 going. You know, 125, 125. Oh, 130, 140, 150, 16. You know, here it starts off, you know, and goes down. So what they're going to want to do, what they're doing here is they want the lowest bidder, which out of a service, Charles, and everybody out there listening, what is the biggest cost for a service?
Personnel.
So what do you think they're going to cut? What's the first thing they're going to cut?
People.
People's salaries.
Salaries, benefits.
Yeah.
Actual positions, perhaps.
Yeah. So you got somebody coming in here. You got services competing for this, and the only thing that they really so what the county is going to want, they want maximum service minimum price. And I understand they're trying to be good stewards of their money, but why don't they do that with the other departments, like their legal department and their accounting department and everybody else?
But to the direct point, and I get you, data, and Brent says data would be helpful, and I agree. Again, without the full knowledge, this is why we ask questions instead of make definitive statements sometimes, is okay, so let's say let's say we're looking to hire a contractor to come in and really soundproof this thing. Knock the wall down so we get buyer's office. Turn this into a big studio, soundproof it. We're not going to go into what kind of nails they're going to use. We're not going to go into what days it can show up for here in the bids. We're going to say, this is the general size. This is the general direction we're going. Give us a bid on what you would propose to do that with.
Right.
And only when we get down to 1, 2, or 3 that we really like, then maybe we sit down with them and go, okay, so here's what we're specifically thinking. How does that change this? Or how can you handle that? Oh, we have classes at night and you can only come in the morning time. How does that affect you? Or you can only come in 1 day a week. But it's only after we've gotten the bids that I think we would do that. That's why I'm like, and maybe I'm wrong, because again, I don't know the bid process, but when you're requesting a proposal, you're not going, okay, I need you to know that you're going to put 2 trucks here and 5 trucks here. You're not giving them the stations. In fact, when AMR came in, they essentially got kicked out of the fire station. Or maybe it was even before that from Metro. But I know at one point the Cab Fire had it and you'd go to the stations and swap. And now it's not that way. Now you go to the base in Stone Mountain and then they go out and they post in places, except for Dunwoody, which is supposed to have 2 trucks. And the DeKalb County owns the contract. So they can tell, being the contract owners, they can tell as part of our agreement. And actually, as far as I understand, AMR is not fighting any of this. AMR said, sure, you want that, we'll give it to you. But you can't be, a city and a council cannot order a company to put it there. It's just the mentality that throws me off. Maybe I'm nitpicking. But now he's going to talk about how there's been a delay in the bid process.
The original due date for the proposals were April 12th. We were told at the bidders meeting that the Q&A asked by everybody that was there, including the question that I asked, would be distributed to all the bidders. And so every day I go to the website for the purchasing, looking for the addendum of the Q&A. The due date of April 12th was not met. They delayed the due date to April 23rd, and that's Tuesday. As of this morning, the addendum with the Q&A that's there is still not there. It is impossible for a bidder to be able to turn in a bid on Tuesday without all the Q&A that bidders were promised. So there will be a delay, clearly, in when the due dates of the bids are. My question is, at what point do we say this is not fast enough work by DeKalb County in serving? They are the sole holder of the certificate for all of DeKalb County, and it's moving very slow. The MOU that we have in all of DeKalb County.
So I'm making a point that is important. He brought up specifically, and that's a fair question. At what point do we say they're not moving fast enough? But this process started, they didn't put out the request till December or January. Because I know they had, in November when we met, they had not put out the request. They were building the request still. So they extended the contract with AMR for 6 months while they built the request and put it out. Don't these things usually traditionally take a year to process? I mean, it's a fair question, but I don't think he's using it in a fair way. I think he's pushing it. But that whole, he had to bring up, right? He had to mention the DeKalb County is the sole holder of the provider certificate, which means what? Dunwoody is chiseling at that because they want to be a holder of a provider certificate. That's what I hear out of them. Preston, I don't know the exact date. John might know. John says, if I'm not correct, DeKalb wanted AMR to pay to be in the stations at the beginning of the contract. I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying there was any malice. It was a bad situation to walk into. Rural Metro said, we're done. AMR, and they had a month. They had 30 days. Rural Metro was going to vacate. And AMR got the contract. And maybe they did get asked to pay. Maybe they said, no, we'll do it our own way. I'm not nitpicking that, John, but I'm glad you brought it up. And Preston says, when is AMR's current contract over the cap? I think it's July of this year, because it was supposed to be. If I don't remember, I don't know the exact dates, but I know that general numbers have been publicly stated at these meetings, and even I think when Terrence was here, he mentioned a little bit of it. Was that at the end of, I want to say the end of 2019 or very shortly, or 2018 rather, or very shortly after, that the contract was supposed to be up. And I know that it was mentioned, I want to say in November, that the RFP was not ready to be put out, so that DeKalb County has, because it started
You
ringing.
forgot to put it on Do Not
I
Disturb.
did forget to put on Do Not Disturb. I'm sitting there with my hands apart, not moving. I'm like, what's going on? So DeKalb County extended it for 6 months. I want to say 8 months. Basically, they did a short extension on it to allow for the RFP to be put together. So I don't know when it's actually up. They probably have a provision to renew for an extra 30 days, as much as they need until they get the
Yeah,
proposals.
I'm looking online, and I don't even see it on here,
See what?
the RFP.
Yeah, I don't know. And the questions aren't up either. So, I mean, that's on DeKalb County, obviously. All right. So, I mean, it is fair, but I don't think he's using it in a fair way. Here we go.
All of DeKalb County, and it's moving very slow. The MOU that we have, and thankfully, you all, as I said earlier, ordered a staffing plan. A posting
There you go, saying
plan
ordered
for the
again.
Fire stations here and the shift changes. Had it not been for that, and those things are in our MOU, but had it not been for that, I'm not sure that we would have had progress here in Dunwoody. Because the MOU, which we have response times of 9 minutes or less for emergency calls, has not been met. The MOU is not compliant yet. We're 5.5 months into a new agreement, and we have not yet received the March report. I understand you all have the fractals through March, but we've not received the March report. But up through February, none of the response times, none of the other elements that are in the MOU have been 100% compliant. So we also have not received an update on the mitigation efforts of what will DeKalb do to bring the performance in compliance with the MOU. So we have
I'm gonna pause it real quick. His points are valid right here. You have an agreement. The agreement's not being met yet, and you're not getting okay. But how are you fixing it?
Right.
And he does. The chief did stand up and answer something like, I told you about the quick response vehicles, and they're putting up more, so on and so forth. I just don't think 9 minutes is a reasonable time in any city. I mean, even in Newton, if you did it for the whole county, 9 minutes is not necessarily a reasonable time from downtown to the furthest point of the county,
No. Now,
and at dinner time or lunchtime is really not reasonable. You can't get through downtown Covington at lunchtime.
on March 13th, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution had an article about it,
Okay.
and it said that the request for proposals said DeKalb could select one company or divide the contract based on geographical areas. Other companies with certain...
Could they?
Yeah, that's what they're saying
They're
here.
the sole owner, I guess. They're the ones responsible for contracting out, so it wouldn't be zones. It'd still be one zone. Or, one
One
zone.
DeKalb zone, but
One-
just different providers.
Different providers.
Kind of like Cobb County did. I don't know if they still do it. I know they did, where you had Puckett did EMS on one day and Metro did it on another. However, my thing is, if that's the case, DeKalb should just say, all right, Dunwoody, this is your area.
Peace out.
Peace out.
That would be interesting because the cab could do that. Say, well, I don't know, man, because now you're getting the legalities, right? So they're the provider. They're the sole holder, as Noel says, the sole holder of the provider certificate. Don't they have to be responsible for contracting the company? So Dunwoody still wouldn't have the power to say who it is and isn't, but they could specifically bid out the Dunwoody area to a single provider, and
Or
their
just give it to
contract
them.
says,
Or just give it to them.
boom. Could that? Because okay, so I'm honestly asking because I thought the regions dictated who got the provider certificates.
Well, you don't have to give up your certificate. You just have a contract.
So you contract with Dunwoody to then they contract their own.
Well, Dunwoody would have. I don't think that would be. That'd be only if Dunwoody is going to do it. The city.
Right. Okay.
So we have grave concerns about the performance of DeKalb County in administering the EMS zone. Our request to have a Dunwoody zone open and so that we can have our own provider and meet our own standards, that remains open. The City Council has also requested that your body remain in place up to a year after the DeKalb RFP, the provider's in place. If we're not going to have a Dunwoody zone, then we need to have continuing oversight of the state of DeKalb. And we think a year after the new provider is a reasonable time. We remain concerned. Our community remains concerned. The business community remains concerned. The visitors remain concerned. Service is better because of the steps you took in asking for the staffing plan and the posting plan and the shift changes at the fire stations. So we appreciate that you did that. But this is not a game of horseshoes. Being close, being better, doesn't make a contract compliant. So we seek that, and we, again, appreciate your continued involvement to either get this MOU compliant fully on all the components, or to open Dunwoody as a separate zone, or north of 285, which would include Doraville as a separate zone. We can work with all of that. But what's going on right now is better, it's just not compliant.
So it's just not compliant is where he ended there. And there it was. There it was. And our request to have our own zones stays open. And so that tells me you don't actually want to fix the problem.
You just want your.
You
own
don't want to
zone.
come up with solutions like, hey, they're not quite there yet. Here's what we suggest to get them there. Here's what we're asking. Can they work? Or don't even take it to a meeting. Take it to the people solving the problem. Nope. We want to talk about horseshoes and how close isn't good enough. And
Well, then he
we
needs
want
to
our
be
own
throwing
zone.
his horseshoe closer to the mark too, and working to get it better.
You know? Yeah. I'm just. Mm.
I mean, the problem is with them going to change providers. Unfortunately, is that at least right now with AMR, you know what you got.
Yes.
You know
yes,
what they can do, and you can work with it. Whenever if it goes to another provider, you got to start from square one.
Yeah, you do. And how long do you sign that contract? Is it another 5-year deal? You know, because then if you get somebody who comes in who can't handle the load, or struggles, right? How you got 5 years, and then I'm sure there's ways to breach that contract, but it's going to take a while. So things could get way worse.
Right.
Right. And I honestly don't think it's that bad in the DeKalb County.
Yeah,
And I
I don't
laughed
either.
at visitors are concerned. Shut up, man. He
What
went in full
visitors?
politician mode at the end there.
Visitors are concerned. People don't come. Oh, I'm not going to go through DeKalb County because they're EMS.
Yeah.
Whatever. You know what? There are places out there that would die to have the EMS system that they have here in Metro Atlanta and in DeKalb County specifically. We have counties in this state that do not have ambulance services or really good functioning 911 services.
Yeah. Yeah. And they don't care. I mean, in a non-judgmental way, they don't care. They only care about Dunwoody.
What's
And I get
Dunwoody,
that.
and is
Fine.
Dunwoody out there training their police officers in EMS stuff?
So that
Why
first,
don't-
they could all be
you know
first
what?
responders,
They could all,
EMRs.
or
yeah.
they could do the public safety model where they're all trained. I guess the public safety model is more like fire department, police department thing. But train the police officers to be first responders.
Yeah.
But if you are really caring about the people and you're so concerned about the lack of EMS, have somebody train those police officers and have them responding to all the EMS calls until the fire truck gets there or until an ambulance gets there to provide care for them. I know here in Covington, the police officers in the city of Covington, they all have AEDs and they're all CPR trained and they are all trained to, whenever they get on scene, to start and utilize that AED.
And that's good care. And you responded back to him in the chat, but Preston says if you gave Dunwoody its own zone, you still run into the problem of them using county fire stations to house their ambulances, and then they're not going to want to pay for that. Oh, wait, doesn't that open the door for them to get their own fire service? Like, oh, well, if we got our own ambulance service, we got to put them up somewhere, I don't know. And if they leave AMR, Preston continues, you need a big enough player.
Wasn't there an incident in Dunwoody not too long ago when they were going after the fire department too? Was that Dunwoody?
I thought that was, but I haven't researched it. I don't have it here.
There was a house fire or something.
I don't know. What do you think about them directly requesting that the ad hoc committee, one, they kept kissing their ass, I'm just going to call it plainly, of just shoveling. He just kept shoveling. Oh, we appreciate you. We don't think anything would have been done if you hadn't requested it, if you hadn't ordered it. It's like, my full understanding is the county did it themselves. That was what the report was in November, was that the council came back and said, hey, the issues we found, the county got ahead of, and they came up with a solution, and we believe this is probably a better solution than we would have come up with. So they keep shoveling on. But then he requests, and John says a few years ago that there was an issue. And Marie says that Dunwoody does that. In fact, they have several cardiac saves. So the Dunwoody police apparently do have
that. I applaud them for that, because I don't know. And, are they doing more than just cardiac? And I know Covington does it, and they have a high success rate at it, and I'm glad Dunwoody's doing that. But let's all get on board and be part of the solution. And don't contribute to the problem is all I'm saying.
Yeah. Now, what do you think about them requesting the ad hoc committee stays open for a year after a new provider, or that Dunwoody itself wants oversight of the county provider?
I think the ad hoc committee looking at it is a good thing. Transparency that keeps AMR accountable, keeps Dunwoody accountable, keeps DeKalb County accountable. So.
And I don't know if I kept the audio because again, it's a lot of mess here. But at the end, the council did say, no matter what happens, even when because this council is for this problem. That's literally what this council is for.
All right.
And basically, once they get to a point, they're going to disband. And he says, even after that, the state monitors everything.
Right.
They watch this all the time.
They do, but the thing is that we think that this is a huge issue, right? Dunwoody is just a small, whenever you look at the state, it's just a small portion of it. So things could get overlooked. So I think having that ad hoc committee is good. Hey, Preston, I see he said that, if they leave AMR, you need a big enough player that's already well established in Metro Atlanta. And that's what I'm saying, is that you got to have that. But who? I don't know of anybody that is big enough established like that. Grady, I think, is pulled too thin. They've gone everywhere. They've got things everywhere, people everywhere. Whenever they went into South Fulton, they were pulling private services from everywhere to try to get it done. And I think that's what would end up happening is if you pulled in like another service or something in order to make it happen, you're going to have this Frankenstein of things happening where you're going to have you're going to have 3 or 4 services in there doing it.
Preston and Marie both say that Dunwoody PD offers regular medical training, that they're very good. And I want to be specific about what we're pushing back against. We're pushing back against the high-end politicians who I believe, I told you I'm biased against them, but personally I believe all politicians want power. But in this case, I feel that every step that the city council is taking is to gain power, not to help people. So the police that are actually being trained, they're on the ground helping people. The firefighters that come from the county, they're on the ground helping people. If Dunwoody got its own EMS service, I would still rail against the powers that be and support the medics and the EMTs that are on the ground helping people. I just want to be clear about what I'm talking about.
And it looks like that Dunwoody's done a good job with the police department, training them and getting them where they are actually helping, and that's good. That's a good step. I'm glad they're doing that. That's not the norm out there, but this is a good first step, and that's what they should be doing, because that's what they get paid, and that's the thing. They get paid to protect life, then property.
Yeah.
That's what their oath says.
Yeah.
So that's part of them protecting life. So they should step up and help where
Yeah.
needed.
So we only have about another minute or two of audio, and then I've got a question to throw at you. But this
Okay.
is some of the rebuttal. They allowed the chief, the DeKalb County Fire Chief, to step up and say, "Okay, you can answer some of these." Then after he answered, they gave the council again an opportunity, and the council passed. So this is the last bits of audio here.
The Memorandum of Understanding, the MOU, with Dunwoody is a separate, legally binding agreement between the City of Dunwoody and DeKalb County. Neither the request for proposal nor any contract that arises from the RFP will impact the existing MOU. The MOU is effective through October 30th, 2019, and is automatically renewed annually. So, just wanted to make sure you have a copy of that. This is a statement that has been made publicly and often by our CEO that is directly in reference to that binding agreement, the MOU. It was mentioned that the RFP does have response times that are different from the MOU. As you all are well aware, we are serving the county when it's as it relates to the zone. The RFP has performance measures that are related to the entirety of the area that we serve.
So there, he's just clarifying. Now, what he was referencing, they handed out an actual written statement from the CEO who wasn't able to be there on that meeting, restating again that the MOU is a separate contract. We're supporting that. Nothing's going to change that. Here's how that goes. That's between DeKalb County and Dunwoody. And then, what did he just say here?
The RFP.
Oh, yeah. That they have to serve the entirety of the county. And that's what the RFP represents is we're not bidding and we're not requesting a bid based on the city of Dunwoody. We're requesting a bid based on the entirety of everything we have to do. And I learned this at Walmart way back in the day when I worked there. When you do that in shelf, you can put anything you want on it, but that price at the top needs to be the highest priced item on that shelf. Because you can easily, pick something up and it says $15 on the top thing, but it's actually $5 because they put various things on there. But if you put $5 at the top and somebody grabs it, they're going, no. The sign said $5. This is not $15. So you can't put 9 minutes into the bid and then say it's okay to do 15 minutes. Legally, that will not fly. And I feel like that's what he's responding to there.
Well, I do know this, that an request for proposal on a contract has higher stance than an MOU. An MOU, you can dissolve that.
Yeah.
A lot easier.
It's not a contract. That's why I'm
contract.
confused why this is a big thing. It's a memo is just a statement of this is a written statement of what we're doing. I don't understand, and apparently it is a legally binding thing.
It can be. It's a written agreement.
Yeah.
Between there, and Marie, I agree with you, Marie, that I think that DeKalb and AMR are working hand in hand to make sure that the best care is given. I know DeKalb has always been really good at what they do. They've got, you want to become a really good firefighter, one of the departments you go to is go to DeKalb because you're going to fight fire and you're going to learn how to do it and you're going to do it good. You want to get really thrown to the fire and do really good EMS stuff, DeKalb County's place to go. So I stand behind the responders, the fire department, the EMS responders, and even the police officers and everybody in DeKalb County. I think they do a great job for what they do. What gets under my skin is the politicians trying to jockey for stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And make things. And what they're doing is trying to make DeKalb Fire look bad, make AMR look bad, and in turn making the responders look bad because Dunwoody can say all they want. Oh, I want our own zone. Well, you know what? They're going to get the same people. It's going to be the same thing. You've already got 2 ambulances posted
maybe not.
inside your city limits.
if they get their own zone,
So
the cab fire and the cab and AMR, people are gonna be like, no, we were with this company. Get your own people.
people always.
Yeah,
flip over.
there's some flips.
But
yeah,
but the thing is, if Dunwoody gets their own thing, are they going to put more than 2 trucks up? Because they already have 2 trucks.
and they technically have. I think it's 3. There's 2 in city, and there was. I remember fuzzily a mention of a third truck in this memo back in November. But technically, they have 50 trucks. Because what happens if those 3 trucks are busy? Dekalb is going to send another truck, so they have almost an endless resource of backup trucks.
And
Whereas if they have their own zone, they have to negotiate, which I'm sure they would get because the cab fire's mission is to protect the county, so they're not going to not do it.
But you have you have these agreements, so that these automatic aid agreements and stuff like that. Yeah, that's great. But if DeKalb is busy, Dunwoody wouldn't be their priority at that point.
Yeah.
Because Dunwoody would be their own thing.
Yeah.
So if it came down to it, okay, I've got this truck that's outside your city limits, and a call just came in 5 miles away from them in DeKalb County.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? That DeKalb truck's responded to that DeKalb County call.
Yeah, exactly.
And that Dunwoody truck's gonna be waiting. And if they only have 2 trucks, that's all they got.
That's all they got. And
Whereas
then,
right now they have access to everything that DeKalb County has.
And sure they have mutual aid, but mutual aid is if we have it available.
If you have it available.
Whereas right now it's like, no, 911 goes,
And
we send the first truck that we get to that call, period.
Yep. The closest, the first truck and the closest truck that we have to it. And, if Dunwoody only has 2 trucks, that's all you got is your 2 trucks.
Yeah.
Unless you're going to put more up. And even if they got their own zone and got their own provider, well, then that provider, that's all they have. You know what? They're going to have 2 trucks, and where's their other trucks coming from?
Yeah. And so the council asked a really good question here in the interest of gathering information.
Chief, I was just wondering if you had, through your comments, if there were, I know you've got the MOU with Dunwoody that we referred to numerous times. Do you have any other agreements with any other cities or any arrangements that you've made to post vehicles or anything, or is Dunwoody the only one that you've entered in any sort of formal agreement with?
So if you can't quite understand, they're asking, does the county of DeKalb have any other agreements with any other municipalities or anything else that says we treat that area special? So, because obviously we have an MOU with Dunwoody. Is anybody else getting that is what they asked. Now I'm adding inference. Obviously he didn't stress it as much as I did.
Require a specific service outside of your normal response and working with the ambulance companies?
Yes, so currently the only agreement, the only MOU that's specific for ambulance service is Dunwoody. There's no others in place at this time. What we have done with the posting of the 2 units that we have stood up that are ambulances, we call them rescue, but they are ambulances. We do have one that is currently in Stonecrest. It's in the city limits of Stonecrest, but it's serving an area that's a very rural area compared to other parts of the county. But there's no other agreements in place at this time.
So he's saying there's no other real agreements, but that they do have a special post specifically for the Stonecrest area because of the ruralness of it.
And I'm not, I don't know, forgive me, because I don't know where the stations are in DeKalb. You got Station 22 and Station 17. Are those, I assume those are additional ones that are close to maybe that can respond, or are those the ones that respond specifically to Dunwoody? But regardless, I'm pretty sure that if they've got the 2 in Dunwoody, there's other stations that are close to Dunwoody that probably respond if those 2 stations are busy, I'm sure. So
my last 2 things, and this is where I imagine you're going to speak a lot on too, is the 2 questions. First, and we touched on it earlier, is can anybody order a company to drop $500,000 in equipment and people into an area? Just, you have to do this. You know, I imagine now, granted, contracts being, I'm not talking about with the contract, like Dekalb probably has a contract that says you have to rise to meet some needs or whatever. But I don't know that any council who doesn't own the contract or anybody can order a private company to spend $500,000 to put trucks somewhere specifically for low call volume.
I don't think so. I mean, it all depends on that contract.
Right, and that's why I really harp on him using those that you ordered. No, they didn't, and they can't. And what's going to happen? Any company, if it's you said you wanted to bid it, so the Thompson EMS company has the contract, and even the county, even DeKalb County goes, okay, Tom, you got to spend $1 million to put up 3 trucks, and you got to do it within a month. He's like, that's not in my contract.
Not gonna happen.
Not gonna happen, man.
Unless you come up with the
yeah,
narrows
exactly.
to come up with the Benjamins.
And I know all contracts are written where either company can probably find a way. Holy crap, that's rain. I just heard it through my headphones. It's loud enough that I heard it through the microphone.
Was that rain or wind?
I think it's both. I don't know, man.
Are we under a tornado warning out
These
there,
are
y'all?
the days that I'm glad I'm not on the truck anymore.
Yes.
To be honest with you. Holy cow, you guys have it rough out there today.
Y'all stay safe out there,
Yeah.
please, if you're listening and working.
Yeah. But yeah, so there would be, you would, if somebody kept going, no, you have to do it, you're going to really dig into that contract and get your lawyer involved and like, now how do we get out of this contract?
Yeah.
Peace out, yo. And I think it's kind of what Rural Metro did. I don't know the details, but I know Rural Metro's transition was not a smooth one. It was 30 days and we're out. And there
Well,
was,
but I think that's what they did. They told them with Rural Metro that in 30 days somebody else is taking over.
Is that what happened? Okay.
And that's my understanding.
I don't know. I don't know.
Is that that's what they said, and then they came back. So, well, we're not quite ready. Well, that's not our fault. You should have been ready.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And that's it's yeah, so that's the first thing. Then the second thing is, when are we going to start looking at South Fulton and the mess that's down there? When are we going to look at any of the other cities and territories in Region 3 to the mess? And there's messes everywhere.
South Fulton's not ran by EMR, though.
No, not anymore. Not anymore.
We don't want to talk about them.
No. What about North Fulton? What about
No.
Cobb?
That's not going to help
No?
Dunwoody get their own zone.
But what about...
Don't tell nobody. That's not going to help them get their zone. Yeah,
How
I got
much
you.
resources are we going to focus on this one?
When we should
problem?
be looking at everybody. We should be looking at all.
I mean, EJ is one of the busiest people I know. I mean, she had to be there at that meeting yesterday for Ad Hoc. She has to be at the EMS 3 regional meetings. And then she has to give me my instructor license. She has to make sure you're teaching right. And, I mean, it just expands from there.
I don't know how she does it.
I don't
She's
either.
Superwoman.
And she had to, as soon as the meeting was done, she had to take off to go do something else she had to go do. You know? So it was like, and she is the Region 3 director.
Yep.
So there's nobody she can designate to handle this. She has, how much of her time are we going to monopolize for 13 square miles and 49,000 people?
Yeah, it's a lot, and they're doing a lot.
Compared to 13 cities. You know, I got to look it up now. I got to know how, somebody else look up the DeKalb County population. I'm going to look at the square miles.
I know it's one of the biggest, and I think, from what I understand, DeKalb County is one of the busiest counties in the country.
It's got a lot going on.
It's got
271 square miles is DeKalb County.
And what's their population?
Let's see.
I think Gwinnett is the highest populated county in the state, and DeKalb's probably right there behind it.
I'm on the Wikipedia page, and as of the 2010 census, it was 691,000 people in DeKalb County.
I mean, I thought it was
Georgia's
more.
that was 2010. I mean, that's 9 years ago. I mean, we might have better numbers now of what's going on there. Who knows when this was updated? So that's it's.
Yeah, Gwinnett County's got 920,000.
Yeah, I mean, it says it's the 4th largest county. There were no, that's something else. So yeah, I mean, so we're talking about 13 miles. Yeah, EJ does right.
Yeah, right now it's 753,000 as of 2019 is what it says.
750. Wow. And 271 square miles versus 13.
Hey, look, I looked at population elsewhere. Cobb County, 755,000. Atlanta, 486,000. Dunwoody's 49. I don't
Yeah.
know why. I guess Google, are you listening to me? Hello, Siri, are you listening? You know we're
Hey,
talking about
Google.
Dunwoody. You know we're talking about Dunwoody, so you pop that up there.
How many people can we trigger right now? Hey, Alexa, how large is Dunwoody? Destiny Foster, who is somehow a top fan. I'm still not sure how that gets awarded, but welcome, top fan. DeKalb County 911 is was one of the nation's busiest 911 centers, almost 1 million calls a year.
Yep. I
So,
remember reading that.
You know,
Somewhere
it's
else. And like, here's Jonathan, because Jonathan's been there. I mean, he's been with them for a long time, so he's a pretty credible source here for us. AMR started sooner than 30 days, and I assume he's talking about in DeKalb County. So in less than 30 days, they were up and running.
and took over the contract that was existent,
Yeah,
essentially,
because
which
somebody got
everybody has
kicked
said
out.
has been a bad contract.
Yeah.
You know, it was set prior to the growth and prior to actually having the ability to analyze census data and call volume and see run reports, stuff that you need for a bid. Yeah, everybody's acknowledged that they took over a bad situation and a bad contract and they've gone above and beyond the contract. Yeah, the contract only requires us so many trucks, and they've gone well beyond that, from what I understand.
Right.
So then I guess the devil's advocate is, well, if they're so big, DeKalb County, and so many people, wouldn't it be better to break it up into zones?
I don't know. I wouldn't think so, because then you got to have a coordinating agency to coordinate all the agencies.
Because ultimately it becomes Dunwoody has their own, and Brookhaven has their own, and then who controls that? Because it's still under the auspices and the business of DeKalb County. You know?
And it's about servicing DeKalb County, not servicing Dunwoody. It's servicing DeKalb County, the entire county.
Do you know of any service at all, or any service area at all, that has multiple cities owning their own EMS inside of a county?
Not here in Georgia, but in other places that do. I mean, there's cities that have.
So then the county would have like a governing.
I mean, I worked in
EMS board.
I worked in a city where on the odd days we had coverage,
crazy.
and on the even days another service had it. So we flip flopped every day.
And then what did you do in the off days?
What do you mean off days? Oh,
Like the days you didn't have the coverage.
You ran backup. You were there for backup, or you were running non-emergency calls.
That's weird. I just from a logistics standpoint, why? Why would you do that? You know, I agree with Marie. She says it's a nightmare. No, that would not be the solution. And I agree fully. I mean, I'm playing devil's advocate and I put it out there, but it does make sense that Gwinnett County runs its own, because it's a whole different. They have a different. Whoever collects the taxes as a whole, that's who runs it to me. And DeKalb County collects the tax. City of Dunwoody has their own taxes, sure, but they pay up to the big boss, don't they? They pay up to the county.
Right.
You know, and the county provides all. Hey, you know what, Dunwoody? If you're going to take EMS, take fire. If you're going to take fire, take the school system. Oh, you're going to take the school system? Take the water and sewer system as well, man. Take it all. Because that's a lot. It is a lot that you're being given by the county. And not given freely. I know the city has to pay their own taxes to the county. But it's the reverse of micromanagement, right? It's the little guy. It's a Norm. If you're still here, I want to pick on you just because I know you and I like you. But Norm's on his ambulance with Daniel, and there's two guys on a truck, one truck, thinking, oh, man, we run all these calls. We're awesome. We run 8 calls in a shift, and we knock them out. We're the best. We could run this company way better. You just give us our territory. We'll run it every day. Just screw everybody else. We'll run it 24/7 every day. That would never work. And that's what this feels like to me, is a city going, hey, we know what we're doing. Let us have it. And you really have no clue of what's going on. You know? So that's the report. That's the editorial observations of us. Put it on there. So
right, wrong, and different. Agree, disagree. We're all good. We're all here for the EMS provider and the citizens. What helps them, I personally, in my personal opinion, I think AMRs did a good job in Dekalb. I do. Could they do better? Yeah, they could. But you know what? That's with every business. Can my business do better? Yes, it can. Can Grady do better? Yes, they can. Can Gwinnett do better? Yes, they can. We can always do better. But are they doing good? I think everybody's doing good. I do.
Yeah,
I think Grady does a good job in Atlanta. I think Dekalb does a good job in Dekalb. I think AMR does a good job in Dekalb. I think, Henry County does a good job in Henry. If they're doing a good job.
They're doing the best they can until you hear reports that they're not.
So whenever you want to do more, instead of trying to demand more and give less, let's get up there, Mr. Politicians, and let's say, hey, we need to divert more funds. What is it that we need to do to get more trucks on the street? Oh, it costs X amount of dollars to have this many trucks. Well, then we need to come up with X amount of more dollars.
Right. One way or the other. And sometimes it's that compromise of, okay, we'll meet you halfway. As a company, we'll use our billing to fund half of the extra money. But then as a county or whoever's booking them has to bring up the other funds. And that comes from taxpayers. That comes from taxpayers.
Well, the majority of people, hey, if there's any citizens out there listening to this or people don't understand, in the 911 business, 50% or less actually pay their bill. Most people do not pay. And most insurances, when an insurance does pay, they don't pay 100% of the bill.
Yeah, it's all negotiated down. And some 911s don't bill. It depends on how the service is set up. I know Jasper County, actually, no, I say that backwards. I guess they all bill. Some don't do non-emergency. I got my wires crossed there for a minute, so strike that from the record, Your Honor.
But AMR's not doing non-emergency.
No, they don't have time to do non-emergency.
Yeah, I mean, and when we say, and we're not talking about a non-emergency 911 call. I'm talking about a transport from a hospital to another hospital. That's my understanding. That's what people tell me. I don't work for AMR, but I have a lot of friends and coworkers and stuff that do, and that's what I've been told.
Now, AmeriPro was specifically brought up. I just thought of that because Norm's here, and the council asked, asked the chief of Dekalb if they get a new provider, will AmeriPro still be a part of that? I'm not sure why they asked that question, but
because they know that they need that if they do that, they were going to have ancillary help.
Okay, and the specific answer was,
and thank you, Marie, for answering.
Yeah, the specific answer was AMR has a contract with AmeriPro, so whoever comes in will have to meet our needs, and if they feel like they need more, they have to come up with the contract themselves.
Right.
So that's the answer there. And we know that AmeriPro is not bidding this, according to Norm, because we don't have the trucks. I mean, we're a fairly new company. We can't do that kind of thing.
Well, we never know. So. I mean, we don't. No, I'm sure Norm doesn't know either, but we just speculate that.
Yeah.
Speculation.
Well, I mean, and they might be, and not telling everybody. Who knows? But that's the thing is,
and yes, Jonathan,
it's a tough process. 40% collection rate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a tough process. It's going to keep going. We're going to keep talking about it here. We definitely want to hear from you. The info at gaiems.com is how you can reach us.
Y'all. Come on.
Absolutely.
And thank y'all for, participating in the chat. Please be here every week. Please.
And we're actually talking about doing more. We're talking about doing some online teaching through this. We're talking about doing more specific, like national type EMS news.
Right.
Who knows? We're obviously been growing and pushing. Yeah. So for right now, still though, Friday 2:30 p.m. here Eastern on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Georgia Institute of EMS. You can find the videos. Feel free to share this out. Tag the people, especially everybody who works in DeKalb County, because there's lots of questions. And my whole goal with going to these meetings is twofold. One is to get raw answers out there, right? That's why I recorded it. I'm not happy. Obviously, you heard the audio. I'm not happy with the audio, but I'm trying to tune it to a point where I can just come back and we put it out. So even if you didn't attend, you could hear the meeting. That's my goal. And then the second is to ask the questions that haven't been asked. And wait, in your report, because some meetings you cannot raise your hand and ask a question directly. So we got to come back to this medium and ask it here. So that's what we're doing. Thank you all for supporting us and coming out. And we're going to keep doing it for as long as we don't get shut down, which that would take a whole lot. And I think Tom's a fighter. If somebody's like, I'm going to sue you, he's like, bring it on.
Come on,
You know,
let's
so-
do it.
All right.
I got my dog in a bone.
So we've got May. We've got a bunch of classes coming up, 5-week, 10-week,
Yep.
16-week classes, an advanced class. If you want to forward your career or start a new one, or you know somebody, because you're all in the field more or less watching this, but if you know somebody who wants to get in the field, we got classes coming up. And we have moved a little more traditional, especially for 5 and 10 week. You'll just be here like a class, and we're
Yep.
lecturing and talking to you. And when I say we, I mean we are actually lecturing and talking. Oh, Jeremy loves this part when my hand goes across and breaks and then shows up on your camera.
It's magic.
So,
Harry Potter.
GeorgiaEMT.com.
You forgot where you were?
All spelled out. I did. GeorgiaEMT.com. All spelled out is our website with all the information on it. Check it out.
Hey, how do you spell E?
Don't know. I'm an EMT. I forgot how to do
That's
that.
why I went to EMT school.
So I went to paramedic school to learn how to write reports. I went to EMT school to do stuff. So, all right, everybody. We will be back next week or possibly sooner. So just keep tuned to our page. Like, follow, whatever the button is, subscribe, whatever it is here on Facebook, and share it out. And
Please
tell the
do.
world, man.
Tell the world. Thank you.